Daniel's prophecy. This is one of the most important prophecies in the Old Testament regarding the Messiah. Let us consider Josh McDowell's interpretation. In Daniel 9:24 through 27, a prophecy is given in three separate parts concerning the Messiah. The first part states that at the end of 69 weeks the Messiah will come to Jerusalem. The 7 and 62 weeks are understood as 69 7-year periods. The starting point of the 69 weeks is the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. The second part states that after the Messiah comes, he will be cut off, an idiom for his death. Then the prince to come will destroy Jerusalem and the temple. All the above, according to Daniel 9:24 through 26, takes place after the 69 weeks of years. But Daniel 9:24 mentions 70 weeks, 7 plus 62 plus 1, not just 69. The final week is described in Daniel 9:27. Many scholars believe that 9:27 discusses a different person and time than that of 9:26. Even though the author refers to the prince, the reference is probably to another prince who is to come later in history. Double references are somewhat common in prophecy. For example, a reference may refer to King David and later to Christ. This is supported by their actions. The prince in 9:27 forces Jewish practices to stop, but the prince in 9:26 has just destroyed the temple. So probably this prince comes later after the temple is rebuilt, which is yet to occur. Anyway, no matter which way one interprets the 70th week, the last 7 years of the prophecy, the first two parts of the prophecy still can be examined historically. Daniel 9:24 through 27. 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. 26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war of desolations are determined. 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week shall he cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations shall he make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. The length of a prophetic year. The calendar used in the Scriptures must be determined from the Scriptures themselves. Historically, compare Genesis 7:11. 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, that same day were all the foundations of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. In chapter 8:4. 4. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the two of these with Genesis 7:24. 24. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And Genesis 8:3. 3. And the waters were turned from off of the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated. Beginning of the 70 weeks. There are several commandments or decrees in Israel's history which have been suggested as the terminus quo, beginning of the 70 weeks. These are 1. The decree of Cyrus, 59 BC. Ezra 1:1 through 4. 2. The decree of Darius, 519 BC. Ezra 5:3 through 7. 3. The decree of Artaxerxes to Ezra, 457 BC. Ezra 7:11 through 16. 4. The decree of Artaxerxes to Nehemiah, 444 BC. Nehemiah 2:1 through 8. However, the only one that appears to fit the data accurately is number 4, the decree of Artaxerxes to Nehemiah. J.D. Wilson's comments on the starting point of the prophecy. The decree is referred to in Nehemiah chapter 2. It was in the 20th year of Artaxerxes. The words of the decree are not given, but its subject matter can easily be determined. Nehemiah hears of the desperate condition of Jerusalem. He is deeply grieved. The king asks the reason. Nehemiah replies, The city, the place of my fathers, sepulchres lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire. The king bids him to make a request. He does so promptly, asking an order from the king that I be sent to the city that I may rebuild it. This decree then is the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. There is no other decree authorizing the restoration of the city. This decree authorized the restorations, and the book of Nehemiah tells how the work was carried on. The exigencies of the various theories have led men to take some other decree for their terminus quo of their calculations, but it is not apparent how they could have done so without any misgivings. This decree of Nehemiah chapter 2 is the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. No other decree gives any permission to restore the city. All other decrees refer to the building of the temple and the temple only. Waymark are the first 7 weeks. It took 49 years to rebuild the city, verse 25. The close of the Hebrew prophecy in the Old Testament canon is noteworthy. It marked 49 years after 444 BC. If Daniel is correct, the time from the edict to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, Nisan 1, 444 BC, to the coming of Messiah to Jerusalem is 483 years, 69 times 7, each year equaling the Jewish prophetic year of 360 days, 173,880 days. The terminal event of the 69 weeks is the presentation of Christ himself to Israel as the Messiah as predicted in Zechariah 9:9. H. Honor, who has thoroughly researched this prophecy in Daniel and the corresponding dates, calculates the date of this event. Multiplying the 69 weeks by 7 years of each week by 360 days gives us a total of 173,880 days. The difference between 444 BC and AD 33 then is 476 solar years. By multiplying 476 by 365.242,19879, or by 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, 45.975 seconds, there are 65¼ days in a year. One comes to 173,855 days, 6 hours, 52 minutes, 44 seconds, or 173,855 days. This leaves only 25 days to be accounted for between 444 BC and AD 33. By adding the 25 days to March 5th of 444 BC, one comes to March 30th of AD 33, which was Nisan 10 in AD 33. This is the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. This is an excellent example of God's prophecy. It wasn't the year or the month, but the very day that was predicted. There are a few other ways people have tried to interpret this prophecy, however, none have led to a Messiah, the most important event of the prophecy. There is also the line in verse 26, "He shall be cut off, but not for himself," that perfectly describes Jesus' substitutionary principle on the cross. This book is available to download in its entirety for free at smashwords.com and eventually here on YouTube. If you want to hear more, subscribe to this channel. God bless.